simply saying, yes, this is one of the maps where they might try and cheese us a bit. We don't feel really confident here. Let's ban Warhead out. Take it onto battlegrounds that we're more familiar with and more confident in. And our first one is, as you already said, Infernal Shrine. So very standard for the European meta.
Very standard indeed. So let's go ahead and start gearing up for it. beGenius last week, they swapped a little bit here. We now have Danatan playing Flex role. He's going more into the damage base. We saw a lot of Greymane from him in particular, and his Greymane play was pretty spot on. So much so that after they won the victory, the interview, man, almost had me slightly in tears, dude, because he was about to cry on stream just how happy this team has been working so hard for so many weeks, and they finally earned their victory. It was just such a great, gratifying feeling to uplift and unleash, you know, all that stuff they had pinned up.
There's a couple of clips also floating around where he later on streamed on his private stream, and he was just hyper the entire day. So it was super fun, not only to see him in the interview, but just how excited he was that they finally took that victory. And if you think about it, this is only the first year, the first season of HGC. You don't want to go down in the history books as the only team that couldn't even win a single series.
Especially if you got taken out in the Crucible, man, that would be the worst.
Yeah.
So, Trick Esport and beGenius will now start this fight off. Greymane banned out instantly, and to be fair, the moments that we saw beGenius be effective is when they had Greymane on their roster. So Trick Esport making sure to get rid of it there and obviously doing their research.
Yeah, right now we are actually in a spot in which, once again, both of the teams are fighting for the damage dealer. So we're not looking at globals at this point. This is a map where you can force a single objective fight later on towards the game, since of course the objective scales. And this is one of the things that oftentimes makes this map in particular very unique, since on most maps you have a bit of a divide of two objectives spawning. Towers of Doom and Altars are spawning, Sky Temple when you have a double temple phase. Even on Cursed Hollow, even if there's only one tribute on the map, there's still two bosses available where you could just rotate around your opponent, give up a curse and go for the boss instead. You don't really have these opportunities on this map, so it's very team fight heavy.
Also to point out, beGenius banning out the Golden. This is something that we've been seeing from our lower tier teams, or beGenius synergy as well. They just don't seem to have the discipline to spread out enough to where Horrifies get more value against them. So the Golden ban makes a lot of sense here for beGenius, especially when you think about their style. They call out a target, one person goes in, and they go for the blow-up. They either get the kill or they don't. If they don't get the kill, they start to falter pretty heavily. Malfurion and Falstad will be the rotation here for beGenius, so they now have their own global, and they have the support here to bring out those roots.
Now, of course, when we're talking about the supports, we are also talking again about double support meta. We see it a lot in Hero League wherever you look right now, but in competitive play, double support is actually starting to bring in very bad results across the board. So it's not as dominant as people expected it to be. Now we're looking at Malfurion and Falstad take it, and keep in mind that beGenius picked on this map in particular oftentimes a double support setup. Maybe those swerves in roles have changed that now. If they have a different approach here, it would be good to observe. But we have now a global counter pick by Trick after they started off with a Nubarak for dive and engage. It's Dehaka and Lucio that they're relying upon.
Yep, with the Falstad being picked up, and was needed here for Trick Esport to grab their own counter Jades. They got the Dehaka so they can keep up with the Soak as well and come in for the rotations. Had Falstad get picked up, you could have seen World here we get a Nubrak and an Arthas for Trick Esport. Arthas has been one that they've moved into pretty often. beGenius on the other side thinking about their ban, and we haven't seen Arthas from them in a while actually. The Rimmer seems to be enjoying that Nubrak more, and so Trick Esport taking it early here takes away that Nubrak.
Yeah, and well, in this case, the bans right now are also going to be pretty interesting, because what we're seeing on the side of Trick is them focusing on the front line. You've been talking about how they have the Anubarak and the Dehaka. Do they really commit to another frontliner and a single backline hero? You can definitely make that play, but you are very heavily engaged into these battles. But beGenius is most likely going to look to ban out a ranged damage dealer, just to limit the options a bit.
When you're thinking about Trick Esport, what are you thinking about in terms of ban? Tychus in particular, probably, as Trick Esport loves to move into that Tychus, so you can use it around the Infernal Shrine phase here. Vala, also another option that we see picked up pretty often from Trick, and Vala is actually taken out now.
Arthur is immediately banned out, so targeting the front line. Trick already has two warriors, so they're just limiting the options that we're seeing for beGenius. So we could see something along the lines of Johanna. There's still a Muradin floating around, two of the heroes that we oftentimes see on the side of the French team. That would definitely be one option of what they could run here. But the double pick has started, and beGenius so far not making a move. There we have the Nazeebo trying to go into the long game, and the Ragnaros. Okay, so right now already the idea here, let's slow the game down with Ragnaros. If our opponent takes the Punisher, we can defend with the Molten Core. It's very difficult for Trick to make it through the Molten Core and get the value. And then the longer we can prolong the game, the more value Nazebo is going to get towards the later stages because he picks up the 20. So a very crisp thought process behind it.
And I like it for game number 1. This is old beGenius before the roster swaps, or not roster swap, the role swaps. I would probably be going in a little bit here and saying, you know what, guys, I don't like this from you. You don't pull it off well at all. But with them having swaps here, I want to see how they perform when they are supposed to play patient. This is a team that has been aggressive for weeks on end, and that's the only time they've seen glimmers of success. Now here, with the swaps popping out, Danatan probably on that Nazebo, we can get to a point here where we can actually see and watch them play a different playstyle.
Also, what is always pretty awesome when you're playing Ragnaros is that the Nazebo lands a good zombie wall. It basically means you cannot miss your ult.
Yeah. You just straight up destroy anyone in the middle of there.
Players also got so much better with it. It feels like a silly thing to point out, but if you go back and you watch the VODs of, let's say, the first couple of weeks after Ragnaros made it into the game, it was pretty astonishing how often these ults got completely whiffed, even with the stun setup. It was pretty crazy to observe this. By now, teams are completely on point. We've seen so many combos with Johanna plus Ragnaros, for example, where a Blessed Shield leads immediately into the Sulfurous. So that is really something where teams have found the synergy and also these timings down to a T. And it makes it very, very dangerous. And that's true with Muradin, Stormbolt into Ragnaros, all the zombie wall as well. So there's a lot of snipe potential with Malfurion. Also, on top of all of what I just mentioned, being able to throw down another route.
I was wondering about maybe Varian or Leorc there as a 5th pick, but when you look at beGenius and Rimmer, he's been playing a lot more Muradin for the team whenever a Nurek's not available, so they go for a very big safety pick here. And of course, as you mentioned, you already have the Stormbolt into Ragnaros being popped up. They have a lot of synergy overlaps and a lot of setup that can allow Ragnaros to be effective here. So beGenius playing to their strengths as well as their role swaps, and now they're going to face off against Tricked, who, by the way, is running Triple Warrior once again.
It's difficult for beGenius to poke from the outside. They only have Nazebo to really make it work. The Boomerang, of course, is another tool on Falstad, but to be quite honest, I don't think that's going to have the same effect. So they will have to engage. Ragnaros can also poke a little bit. I just don't feel it's enough poke to really warrant staying outside of the shrine. So they will have to fight for the control, because I believe Tricked, with running Anubarak, the Haga, and the Sonya, is going to try and take shrine control as fast as they can and then win the objective. So pushing into the Triple Warrior is going to be a bit of an issue. Kel'Thas adding even more AoE to the equation. When it comes to simply winning the objective, I think Tricked is really set up quite nicely.
Yeah, they are set up really well. I mean, beGenius, just to say it straight up, they're not doing anything until level 10 and then late game. When they have Sophia Smash combo, I mean, Ragnarok's going to get beat out by Sonya in the fight. They're going to have no way to actually clear that shrine effectively unless they get incredibly lucky and get a couple picks on the early side. And then they have to wait till level 20 before they get that Violent Infection to be effective in team fights. Luckily for them, they have Ragnaros, they have Muradin.
Yeah.
Heroes that are really good at, one, rotating, not getting killed, and good for slowing down the map.
They have Falstad for Gust, they have the Disengage, they have Molten Core. There's a lot of tools to prolong the game. And as we said, once the Nazebo hits his power spike, he becomes an absolute monster. The damage that he can put out with a Violent Infection is fantastic. So that's something that they are definitely hoping for here.
Game 1. Let's get it started here. Infernal Shrines. We're moving into it. beGenius versus Tricked Esport. Can beGenius earn another victory in the HGC, or will Tricked Esports get himself back on track?
That's the question right now as we are entering our first map between beGenius and Tricked Esports. And to the left side, it is the French team, successful against the Playing Ducks the last time. Now they're facing off against Tricked with Danatan on Ragnaros, Unstable on Malfurion, Tank on Muradin. We have Arakin on Nazebo and Kirva on Falstad.
My brain was in there. Rimmer is not on beGenius. He is actually on their side. My bad. Tricked Esport here on the right. Alex Saproji showing up here playing Dahaka. Crosby's going to be on KT. We're going to have Rimmer on that Anubarak, and it looks like we're actually coming back out. The tactical pause here to make sure that we get the proper players on the proper teams is now set up here. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, so in this case, first of all, as we said, it's really about identifying where is the power spike for the teams. And if you're looking at a match that can be either your own draft in Hero League, in Team League, or if you're looking at the competitive play, you really have to think a bit about, okay, what does the team really want? And you, as we said, Nazebo has the power spike late in the game, so really prolonging those fights is important. And that means that they're not necessarily fighting over every objective. The one thing they have to avoid, beGenius that is, they need to avoid the opponent to snowball. So Tricked is going to hope to get just objective after objective, set themselves ahead with experience, grab a talent lead, and then just dominate the late game punishers that, of course, scale percentage-wise and are incredibly strong. And that is something where beGenius can say, okay, we play this slow, we defend with everything that we have, and if we see an opportunity, we take it, but we're not forcing fights that we don't have to.
All right, looks like we're ready. Let's start it up here. Back in Infernal Shrines. And let's go ahead and keep up with the introductions. I think I missed out on the Lucio here, which will be played by Nappe. So notice over to beGenius, they've actually swapped it up again. We have the Muradin on the tank here. Danartan being played instead of him playing on that flex, which we expected. Arcane will be on the Nazebo, so they continue to keep switching up their roster here to fit on specific heroes. We'll see how that pans out for beGenius, while Trick Esport, with their triple warrior composition, will be looking for early kills, but also to stay on even footing against their opponent.
It's actually really cool that we have on level 1 for Kel'Thas now even Convection taken, and this is one of the things that I want to highlight a little bit. So Convection is a talent that you see oftentimes also in quick matches, in Hero League, and this is a really good example of when you can run the talent. If you guys are watching a lot of HGC, you're probably noticing that Kel'Thas players usually don't go for it, and there's a simple reason. Once you do, your opponent is going to try and make you a priority in the fights. And it's very easy to kill a Kel'Thas if you have a little bit of dive available to you, if he tries to go for the stacks. In this case, there's a triple front line. And that's really the main reason why Trick is currently saying, yes, we can stack that extra damage, and also Kel'Thas is the only damage dealer. Make sure that if you're ever tempted to use that talent, you ensure that you have either very, very good support, that you have a good front line that can protect you, and that your own positioning will allow you to just move back. Because if you get taken out too often when you run this talent, your level 1 is basically completely useless to you and your team. So it's a very risky talent to take, and you need to make sure that you have the defense on the team to make it work.
Risky talent, but one that Crosby will need to complete here to help out with the damage in these team fights. The Thurnal and crew are here in the middle, looking to trade out against Kirbois. We do have the Spider build for Nazebo, so definitely going for that late game level 20, while the first Shrine will be activating in the top lane here in 8 seconds. Should see Trick Esport start to move over there as soon as they can, especially with Dahaka being able to soak both waves if need be to get them that level 4, as Sonya and KT do very well at clearing out the Shrine phase.
Yeah, they definitely do. So not only the two of them, but also the Dahaka, if he starts to move in. Currently we see him, of course, at that bot lane when Nazebo is taking position. And as you can tell, beGenius isn't even contesting. And this is exactly what we have been talking about a few times already during the broadcast, that oftentimes in the early game, teams are starting to become a bit more willing to let an objective go, at least when it comes down to Infernal Shrines. The first and the second punish are usually not quite that strong. Alex down here finds himself in trouble. Good wall, blocking him out for now, but it looks like the Dahaka is going to be able to walk away. But a good pressure play from beGenius.
Good pressure play. The essence there from Noxapoji will keep him alive. The damage is not being there quite yet there between Falstad and, of course, Nazebo. But the pressure play allows them to push in this wall, and they will do so. The turret gets picked up. We have beGenius slightly ahead in experience, 5.5 to the 5 of Trick Esport, as we have Sonya finishing out the Shrine at the very top.
Yeah, already Rema Baller moving back down here, attempting to see if he can get a quick stun in maybe and a follow-up damage, but that's not the case. 27 of the minions have been taken by Trick. And beGenius is rewarded with a slight lead in experience for them soaking all 3 lanes, but of course that's going to be diminished once that Trick gets the Punisher and can translate that into structure damage at the top lane.
38-0. Sonya get close to completing here. Will they make the election here to go ahead and clear it out? No. They're going to take the time to soak up a little bit. There is a chance for beGenius with their defense on the top to get 7 while that Punisher is pushing in. Trick Esport, if they do want to move in, want to make sure they're on the same talents here.
Tank for the win, needs to be cautious, is already moving away here. Trick is having a rough time taking Muradin down, and that is pretty difficult to do just in general. The Dwarf has such so many hit points, and in this case they don't have any real damage healer. They could just put in point on damage. There's no Jaina available for burst damage, there's no Vala for auto attack or Zul'jin, anything along those lines, Greymane maybe even. So they are going to have to wait until the later stage of the game when they can put a little bit more direct damage onto him. But here comes Trick with the first punish up at the top lane. beGenius has the level 7 already. Went into Skullcracker now as well, so using that for Muradin as the only front line. And we could have expected the Iron Forge momentum to get a bit of cooldown reduction to allow him to stay alive. But he has exactly what we've been talking about earlier. The immediate Molten Core, defending against the Punisher and making sure that there's not too much being done by Trick Esports.
Now losing help from that forward, also poking in that back line. Danartan and crew will deal with that. Tank for the win. Still up there too. Kirbois in trouble though. As the third one, remember, runs down to the middle, he'll be able to sneak on back behind its turrets, especially with Unstable there to defend.
But I really like what we have from beGenius so far. They're playing this safe, they were trying a couple of aggressive moves, but overall they're just playing it very cautiously, trying to not die here, and making sure that the game plan, the strategy that they set up at the beginning is being followed through. So very good defense for them, they're ahead in experience, they're not making it easy for Trick to gain momentum.
They are not. Zebo's on the bottom soaking, and beGenius taking a small cautious play, seeing a few people in the top right. They'll go ahead and start Mercenaries in the bottom left. They're avoiding fights as much as they can, but also taking what small advantages they can overall by soaking experience, keeping up the lead, pushing in their opponent with Mercenaries.
Quick side note, Convection only one stack thus far. Kel'Thas has a bit of a rough time to getting those stacks up, just simply because nobody's grouping on the opponent's team. Very safe play for beGenius, they're dodging them nicely as well. So 5 minutes in, only 1 of 20 stacks completed. So Kel'Thas cannot rely on that heavy damage just yet.
KT's also having a bit of a hard time because his mercenary play. He pushes in the middle, pushes in the bottom. KT's one of the best defenses they have next to the Haka for clearing out those minions pretty effectively with his Living Bomb and of course his Flame Strike. So him clearing Merc stops him from getting that Convection. So we'll watch that as it continues to pop out for our teams as beGenius rotates the top left corner to start getting the mercenary set up for the push in the top, which will be important, especially with 10 right around the corner for the second shrine.
I'm really liking what beGenius is doing. I like it. It's way cleaner than what we've seen so far. They are a little bit ahead. It's nothing crazy. Trick is still the favorite in the series, but just watching what beGenius is doing here is really cool to observe because it looks already so much better than what we've seen from them in the past. We could see them win a second series today, but even if that's not the case, it just looks like they are improving, and that is the most important part if you are going to face the Crucible. You need to make sure that you step up your game to maintain your position in HGC itself.
This team looks incredibly different from week 1. They have definitely been putting in the work. Now with 10 here for both of our teams, we'll see how they handle the team fights and the shrine phase. beGenius slightly ahead here, 11-7, but with Sonya on the rotation of the top lane actually, with Volstead, he may have a kill popping out. No, esport does not get it, and that allows beGenius to get 23-9.
This is also a scenario where finally Kel'Thas can start the stacking process a bit better because the opponent is starting to clump up heavily. The position on the shrine has been taken, but as you already pointed out, Trixler, beGenius has a solid number of minions. They're looking at 30 now, and they are starting to close in on a potential Punisher. They even dropped the Molten Core because they're saying, guys, if we use Molten Core right now, we have a guaranteed Punisher, and we don't need to use it for defense. They get an Arcane Punisher now. beGenius, they are looking pretty solid so far.
That they are. They cleared out. The Punisher pushing in the middle will be an Arcane Punisher too, so will help up for the push. Volstead stayed in top and Zebo stayed in the bottom. Remember, just keeping that goal of pushing towards level 20. But beGenius slowing down Trick Esports, and they're engaged with this. Every time you see Rimmer move forward on a Nubarak, instantly beGenius gets out of the fight. They mount up and retreat.
The quick rotation at the bot lane, I'm liking it. It's exactly what they need to do. And it might sound a bit weird for us to point a lot of these things out, but that is where they usually had huge problems. Alex in trouble. If there's a Storm Bolt, okay, heals up again. There comes the leap engage, and Volstead is blown to pieces. Well done here. A double kill as Trick is turning up the heats, and they are making it the triple.
Wow, the Sonya leap in, the big damage in from KT, the area effect, the Phoenix burning out. It was too much for beGenius to handle. The Mighty Gust idea was pretty solid. They were trying to get Alex and Proji isolated, but it wasn't solid enough to push the opposing team away, especially with Leap being out.
Yeah, Leap, of course, great tool for Sonya now, and one of the reasons why they can go for Leap is that triple front line. They know that they have enough sustain at the front line that Sonya doesn't need the Wrath of the Berserker. Now Trick is turning up the heat and gains some momentum. So we have them starting to take a lead in experience, and they will claim the fort at the bot lane. We're looking at an early level 13, as we have now Ragnaros coming in from the top. Volstead flies into, Gust available in 2 seconds. They're attempting to go for Eternal, and it looks like they can get the kill, but no! Oh, there comes Rack and gets the Sulfuras in. Kill confirmed.
Tank for the win also gets out. We're going to have a Twilight Dream being used. Now, normally I would be upset with beGenius for their aggressive play there, but it makes sense because Trick Esport was not in a pot where they had actual Sonya leap available. There was no major team fight, no initiation set up aside from Cocoon, so beGenius jumps in, go for the aggressive play, and they trade out a fight. Now, they're still behind overall. They're going to hit 13 when they can here by getting the experience in the middle lane, so they will now be even on talents, but a heads-up play from beGenius as they continue to move up towards 20.
Yeah, we have level 13, and that is Okay, this is one of those moments where I have actually to say that that doesn't make a lot of sense what's happening here. Falstad not taking Giant Killer is just a straight up mistake.
Against 3 tanks, yeah.
Yes, against 3 tanks in particular, I could see an argument for him taking the cooldown reduction on 13 if he went into the static shield on 4, just because he's afraid of other heroes jumping in and he wants a little bit more defense. But if you go for Seasoned Marksman, and then you also go for the auto attack heals on level 4 with the hammer gains, then Giant Killer is absolutely mandatory. That build is odd to say the least. There's no synergy there, there's actually asymmetry happening at this point.
Perhaps the thought process is Sonya has leap. Maybe if I have my cooldowns available, I'll be able to get away with a barrel roll out away from the fight, but still, Giant Killer is just so effective.
I think at this point the thought process is just he went autopilot.
Could be fair.
Yeah, if you go into more of a mage stat build, that's normally when you use a level 13 talent, when you go for the Flow Rider and then the Airy Gust. But if you are already thinking about going heavy auto attacks with Hammer Gains and Seasoned Marksman taken, and you face off against a triple frontline, then Giant Killer just gives you so much added attack. So I think in this case it should have done something different. Is it going to be the end of the game? Probably not, but it's definitely making it a bit harder.
Mighty Gust being used, Coon on the back left. We're going to turn around and save our Malfurion. Unstable is still alive. There are 5 people up for beGenius, but 5 also for esport as they focus down the Shrine phase, 35-0.
Yeah, so this is going to be another Punisher for Trick Esports. They find themselves in a spot where they can push to the top lane. Ragnaros is probably just going to let the fort fall. I don't think there's a reason to try and fight for it too hard. But you can make your stand at the keep itself. We have 6 stacks on Convection. Very, very slow right now on the Kel'Thas stacks, but he hasn't died yet. So we're looking at level 11:30 minutes into the game, and level 14 when Kel'Thas has 6 stacks. But he would love to get that completed soon, because a Ragnaros comp later on in the game could already eliminate the dream.
Trick Esports going to rotate to the middle lane here, knowing that Molten Core is going to be up and probably using that top lane. It's going to take the opportunity to start grabbing in the fort in the middle. But Danatan, heads up play, does not actually stay in the top lane. He rotates down, will use the Molten Core to defend the middle, and beGenius is closer to 16 than they were a couple minutes ago, and they'll be getting that 16 pretty soon with clearing out the top lane.
I don't even think he needed to use the Molten Core there. Top lane, I can totally understand why he didn't use the top lane, since we saw the rotation to the middle. But as we had Trick already moving away, I didn't even think he had to use it. Because now they are still being attacked and it's on cooldown, so they should be able to defend here regardless. But that's a 2-minute cooldown that I think they could have held back.
Trick Esports with the smallest of windows will move in to take away the mercenary camps away from beGenius. They grab it just now. beGenius does take 16. But remember, they are 4 levels away from where they want to be. Level 20, full spider build here with Ice Block for Nazebo. He's going to start chunking his opponents down as much as possible.
Yeah, and if you think about it, beGenius is actually looking good. There's a great cleanse coming out. That was a good one. Phoenix is on the ground. Well done by beGenius, keeping the heroes alive. They are down a little bit of experience, and Trick is starting to be a bit more aggressive about their posturing, because they're realizing, guys, this game is not going how we expected it to go.
Convection stacks, by the way, still not even close to being done. 9 here out of the 20 needed for Trick Esports to finish that off.
Yeah, and that doesn't make it easier. beGenius is soaking experience at the top lane. As we said before, they have a comp that banks heavily on Nazebo reaching 20. That's the idea behind it to a big extent. That's when they are starting to chunk down against an opponent, so experience is important to them. And they're getting closer and closer to that goal. So I love to see them with the game plan. This is a completely different beGenius from what we've seen in the recent weeks. So that switch that they made with Danatan definitely helped them a lot here. But Trick, of course, is also well aware what's going on at this point, and they are just attempting to make sure that they win the next few Punishers.
They're chasing down Erikine here. He's in a bit of an odd position. Luckily, Malfurion will bring out the roots. And he also grabbed the bigger roots at 16 just to make sure they control the fight better. Also, much more effective when you're against multiple melees. You're in a good chance we're going to hit 2 to 3 people, which is where you get value out of that root. Tank for the win tries to get a jump. He actually gets interrupted out of it. Alex Approach comes out with a drag, which forces the cleanse from Unstable.
Yeah, force the cleanse out, so that's on cooldown for the time being. The shrine is about to activate, but the top lane is suffering. We have another structure that's being assailed by Falstad and the waves that he pushed in. So that is putting extra damage onto the fort. It's going to survive for now, but we have a bit of poke happening as we are seeing once again Trick taking the position on the shrine early on.
And they will start grabbing control. 10-0. Falstad needs to get in that bottom lane. start defending those minions that are pushing in. He will start to rotate. A bit too late for my taste, but 20-0 is going to be the lead. So Trick Esport will be able to grab this Punisher relatively easily. Do remember, Molten Core will be up for defense.
This is exactly what we've been saying. They are willing to give them up. They're willing to say, we do not take these shrines, we delay the game. As long as we don't massively start losing keeps, we're still good here. We can rotate, we can get the experience, we can make sure that we just get to 20, make sure that Nazeebo gets his power spike, and that's when we're going to face the music, not before that. Of course, later on, once Nazeebo has this 20, they still need to be careful that Sonya isn't able to leap in and confirm a quick kill, so the ice block is going to become incredibly important, and so will be the cleanse from Malfurion.
Let's see how it unfolds. Next, we're going to have Tank for the winner crew. Getting poked here in the middle, Gargantuan instantly popped. Trick Esport taking a big and massive play and heading in the top left corner. Molten Core should be available. Yes, he does have it here. He uses it. Mighty Gust even being used here by Kirboss. Sonya's been locked down, even a Twilight Dream.
Twilight Dream being used. Ragnaros is still raining hell and fire down on the opponents. They're trying to get the kill. Sonya barely jumping out. Good job by Infernal. That would have been the end of it. Ragnaros not hitting the ult, but the defense is on. One of the keeps is very, very low, but still, beGenius is still in this, and it's only 1.5 levels until they hit level 20.
1.5 levels. The Trick Esport is frantically looking for a fight. They hit Unstable on the back left. He uses Ice Block to dodge initially, but the follow-up from Trick is too much, and Unstable will fall. Cocoon being used on Tank for the win. Can he get away from the fight?
That was actually an interesting scenario here because we saw Malfurion use immediately the vision once they started to go into the camp. That was the moment when they saw everybody in that brush and they were, uh-oh, we are in trouble. First thing that happens is Malfurion puts down the roots on himself, but it's already too late. The gravity lapse hits them, and that was a big, big moment for Trick. They are trying to translate that into a keep, and it's very likely that they're going to be able to destroy it.
Especially with the Smirk push on the top, Gargantuan's going to be used. He gets burned down instantly. Phoenix in the back left, helping out for the DPS. Take for the wins, trying to soak it up there as hero priority does pop out with that hero's Phoenix. But 19.5 is going to be the lead for Trick Esport, and they grab the keep to bring it to 19 3/4.
Yeah, that's the moment when you just let it be. And you know, it's not going to work. It's unfortunate for them. It's not where they want to be. They would have loved to go to 20 with all 3 keeps alive. But it's still not the end of the game. They want that 20. It is so important. It's really a delay tactic here. And if not for that gank that Trick set up, they would have achieved that goal, I feel. Trick, therefore, with very nice moves, making these traps happen. Now we have the shrine up at the top. And this is now really the question. Can they reach level 20, beGenius that is, before the shrine is becoming a big deal?
Should be able to if they soak out in the middle lane as well as the bottom lane with their fall set play. Kirboss can also hang out in the top lane to help out with the push coming his way. But with the shrine activating, at level 20 here in the very north, if Trick Esport grabs this Punisher, they have a chance to start moving in for a core. Now, beGenius has tools, Beta, of course, into the keep and set up for defense. But this Trick Esport needs to make the big power play to go for the victory.
Yeah, this is for beGenius also one of the situations that they don't really want to occur, because now it's really the top lane. It's a very unfortunate shrine spawn for them. If it was another lane, it would be easier for them to defend. Now they are more or less forced into action, and they are starting to take that 20. So now we have it already, and with that 20 now in play, we are already seeing 188 stacks on Nazeebo.
So here comes the damage, is basically what Caldor is saying. Curve walk, moving forward, getting aggressive here. We're going to watch Erikine on the top right as Sonya has been isolated. We're going to go straight on to Lucio, and he gets blown up and does the front flip on the screen. Danatan dead, though, as he gets traded out.
Get bloodied, son, but Ragnaros also down, and so is Nazeebo. Nazeebo dead. This is what all the lead-up was for, to put him into a good spot, and he's the first one to die. It just feels bad. Crosby is also low. Can he keep himself alive? That's the question. Tank wants another kill, gets the Stormbolt in, but Crosby survives.
Kirboss really messing up on that kill. He dives in, brings the W on Crosby, but doesn't even go for a close-range hammering. Misses out on it, and KT survives. Trick Esport will get a massive lead here, and with the Impalers pushing in the middle of the lane, key damage is starting to come out. Punisher will be available. Nazeebo got picked off instantly in that fight in the early stages, and beGenius with 4 members down, they're going to be hoping for a miracle defense.
Yeah, when that engage happened, you need to have that ice block ready for the situation to dodge it completely, ideally. But still, Tricked has played this quite well. They lost already Lucio super early in the fight, so that was a nice snap decision call by beGenius, starting, okay guys, we have a stun on him, let's take him down with Ragnaros. Then it didn't work out quite for beGenius, losing the Zebo too early after the entire build-up was to put him into a spot where he can deliver the pain. Now Tricked wants to go for core, of course, but Arcane is already starting to poke heavily against Ramaballer here with his spiders.
Gotta be careful here, Arcane. Oh my gosh, Kalthos gets blown up by Ragnaros on the back right side. Arcane keeping up with the damage in the front, and with no KT here, there is no damage for Tricked Esport. Twilight Dream goes off, Sonya gets focused down, Alex approaching, being chased and try and burrow away. Can they stop him? Tank for the win does stop him there with the Skullcracker. Kirwell goes for a Mighty Gust on a Beetle. He gets the Beetle pushed in, but still the defense comes out for beGenius.
Kirwell hates Beetles.
He hates them, man.
He hates them. He sees the Beetle and he immediately gusts it in and is like, guys, take it down. Yeah. Okay, so Kirwell panicked, obviously. He was trying to go in to stop them, and then he was attempting to move away, cast them maybe in, but he was not really in a good spot there. But what you can see there is beGenius all of a sudden netting kills, and they are doing well. They have 3 kills. They didn't lose anybody there. Ragnaros started off with a kill against Kalthos, and all of a sudden the French team, beGenius, that team that got destroyed in every game up to the moment where they defeated the Playing Ducks, is looking good on map number 1. Yes, they lost the keep, but so did Tricked now.
Yep, 1 for 1 and keeps, and beGenius is moving in. We're seeing if they can get a kill here. Sonya's up in 5 seconds. We're going to have the Haka and 10. They're just going straight for the core. They move in. They sit on top of Crosby. We're going to have pressure from Tank for the win as he locks him down. Tank for the win jumps away from the fight, realizing he couldn't get the kill on KT. Eternal jumps... Wait, what? Eternal jumps in with the leap, but Kirba drops out the Mighty Gust when Danatan goes around to start the fight.
Yeah, and that was one of those moments when you just realized, well, mistakes were made. Nice move by Trick, dodging also Danatan. Damage on the core of Trick, but this could turn out real quickly. Danatan is low, trying to keep himself alive a little bit longer, maybe go for a trade. We have catapults on the core of beGenius. Rema is already on the move. Kirba is defending 85%, 30 seconds until we are seeing Malfurion back.
Tricked Esport with multiple tanks and a Lucio are moving into the top. They can move in with catapults and push for the core. They want to start doing damage soon though. Malfurion's up at 20 seconds. He'll have Bolt, Twilight Dream available for the fight.
It's all about the Nazebo. All about the Witch Doctor damage, and Trick says, nope, not happening.
Fighters keep coming out, and yes, you're right, that Nazebo too scary to face off against in this scenario. They will turn around and draw some Flame Strikes here on the keep. It's down to a quarter health. Ragnaros up for 20 seconds, so they can continue to poke here if they protect their KT.
beGenius messed up a little bit at the core. That was a call that they probably regret right now, and it could result in them losing a second keep, and indeed it does. So that is beGenius with a bit of an upset position. They thought they could bait everyone into a Ragnaros Molten Core. That's basically what happened there. They were saying, guys, go for the core. If they move in, I get the Molten Core going, and then we can kill them. But then Malfurion dies, and that is the beginning of the end.
They will need to use Falstad to defend the middle and the top lane. And Tricked Esport, they may have to defend the base race here, as beGenius is moving in aggressively for a rotation. Falstad shows himself middle. Tank for the win's moving in, and they're going straight for core.
They could have left someone at the end of the town portals, to be honest. I would have liked that.
Here we go.
Core. They're going for the race. beGenius, the Mighty Gust is in, 80%. The leap, Malfurion is the first target. Ice block, 30%. They're pulling it off.
Everything's here.
Pulling it off.
They are, and the Spiders are also going to come out too, even if they kill Ragnaros here. Yes, beGenius gained the first win here in game number 1 with probably one of the most boldest calls I've ever seen here. But hey, when you're 1-11, you've won a match the last week, and you're feeling confident, go in for it, and they pulled it off.
All right.
Okay.
beGenius, boys, is back. They needed 11 playdays to figure it out, but apparently these guys are back to business. They take down Tricked on the first map, and I also have to say one thing. Eternal, really? Jumping on Malfurion in a base race, is that really the target that you need to take down?
Gotta stop that Twilight Dream, man. All right, that's gonna be it for game 1.
Twilight Dream is a good point, but at the same time, that's not the guy who does the damage.
That's very true, man. Let's go ahead and get ready for game number 2. beGenius with the lead here, 1-0.